My name is Nichel Anderson. I'm your host for my podcast show, Surviving Your Journey Towards Success. Thank you for joining me today for this episode starting in the month of December 2018, the last month of the year. And I decided to do like a short series for the weeks in December. And basically, I'm calling that Tell It in 5. So in 5 main points, I'm breaking down some takeaways that you can do and think about, hopefully use, to motivate you in moving forward, because that's what life is. Living is moving forward, not stagnation. Of course, it happens on a journey, but the goal is to eventually learn from it and move on. Sometimes it's very painful to move forward, but this month I'm keeping it short, keeping it to the point. So it's going to be a different format. It will not have the motivational takeaway because these are your takeaways and your task to dusk to dawn that I usually have that part of my segment. I might bring it up, but for the most part I'm just keeping it to the point and short. So each of the episodes that I will release weekly for the month of December 2018 will be about 5 points, and they're going to be quick and to the point, but definitely something that you can take away from, okay, and use that. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started for this week. This week will be December the 3rd for episode 44 in my second season, 2018 to 2019, for Surviving Your Journey Towards Success, my podcast. So for today is December the 3rd for episode 44, entitled Why Consistency is Persistency That is Important. So let's go ahead and get started. So in this day, I am thankful to the prime creator of all things, that I give thanks for this blessing and opportunity, that I will use it for the greater good. So welcome, my survivors of the journey, to my podcast that aims to inspire and motivate, that you will continue to have joy, peace of mind, and for your sustained success. All right, so getting into this episode 44, talking about consistency, my 5 points of takeaway for you today is: number 1, consistency builds up your stamina over time. You have to consider that without stamina in the mind, body, and spirit, people quit. So when I'm talking about stamina, usually that deals with the energy that you can use to move about here and that. But I add the mind and the spirit to it because we forget about those elements of reality, of how we vibrate, how we live, how we make our choices. So consistency builds up the willingness to don't quit. Now persistency vibrates on a spiritual level. This is part 2. So the first one, again, your first takeaway is to know that consistency builds up your stamina over time, and without stamina in the mind, body, spirit, people quit. That's number 1 takeaway. The second takeaway of the topic today is persistency that vibrates on a spiritual level of self-awareness with consistency allows you to grow over time. So when I'm focusing right now on number 2 about persistency and how it vibrates on our spiritual level, I'm going deeper, but I'm going upward in the sense that persistency allows you to connect with your ability to choose, to say, you know what, I'm going to try it again. And then the next day come, and maybe it's a failure, or maybe it's a setback, or maybe you're just depressed. It happens. We're human. But your consistency allows you, I'm going to do it again at 8 o'clock in the sense of what I need to do to make it happen. It hasn't happened yet, but I'm going to keep consistency in that. And by doing that, you automatically feeds the vibration of what's needed, right? Which is persistency. You're persistent and making sure that it moves along to the next level, to the next phase. Sometimes you're on the same level and it hasn't really accomplish anything for a while. And I could talk about a lot of testimonies, but I'm keeping this podcast short, that it just takes a while to be able to get to the next level. So sometimes people don't see it, so they don't have the energy matrix to keep it up, and so they fall backward or they don't do anything, and then the consistency fails. All right, number 3 takeaway: consistency is persistency, because being persistent gears up to recharging your thinking and doing forward. So what I mean by that, the consistency it's intertwined with persistency. The only way you can be persistent if you're consistent with it. Okay, I know the words sound alike, but it's actually a really slight difference. It's a different element in itself. And with trying to convey that to you, it's just to show you how you have to balance that out. If you can picture a scale where you have certain elements or weights on one side of the scale, and then the other, you have another type of weights on the other part of that scale. And by keeping that in balance, when you reduce in doing the things that's needed, is either to give you education on a particular topic or have you rethink a certain position, and it takes a while to learn that new skill or even to research that, but you have to keep going at it. For example, in history, when we look at those people that we admire, you can find the patterns of consistency. Patterns of life is consistent, right? We as humans sometimes set back because we don't see the fruits of our labor immediately. But if you're persistent with it, meaning that you believe to know that it's going to happen eventually, that you're passionate to know that it will come to fruition. That's what I mean by 3, that consistency is persistency, meaning that it's being persistent and gearing up and recharging you spiritually. Because you can be saying, I'm in it and I can do it, I'm going to do it tomorrow, and then people stop and they say, why did you stop? Well, this and that. But the persistency grows over time, and that gets deeper into the spiritual realm, and that makes you not to quit. So consistency is like the initial seed in a sense, and how it bursts out as a flower when it gets its nourishment is the persistency that you never give up and you keep going. So number 4 takeaway is everyone loves consistency. Why? Well, it actually is a great thing because it builds up trust. All right, it builds up trust, and that is one of the elements that leads you to influence. See, influence is power. It's not really money. Of course, we live in this type of world where you have to have some type of money to be able to trade or buy this. But in the end of the day, influence is power, because you're able to empower and inspire someone else to think in a certain way. And of course, of the good of light, you want it to be a good way, not lead them astray. That's not the right thing to do. So everyone loves consistency because it builds the trust. It builds, they're more relaxed and calm. They're more trusting in the sense that what you say you would do, and what you do is what you say. That's why people love consistency, because they know you're going to be there, you're going to do what you need to do. But I'm also talking about you yourself. You have to be consistent to the goals you wish to accomplish. If it's your career and you want to be able to communicate in a way, or to have a team that is supportive and moving forward, then you have to be consistent in delivering that message and putting yourself in their shoes. That's the best way to know if you're consistent in your vision and in your mission, to show your workers and your employees that you can lead forward. Okay? And with that, it builds the trust that they won't quit. They won't say bad things about the brand. And in your personal life, you have to be consistent in showing that you love that person, that you honor that person, that you honor yourself to want the best. That builds trust. Without trust, there is no foundation. And when you have trust, you have the influence that you can just say 1 or 2 words and people will actually say, you know what, I think that's about right, because you know what, she's always, or he or she is always, consistent. And so I'm going to go ahead and move in the way of what she's communicating to me. And when you're consistent in that sense, you're able to see the fruits of labor. And when they do come, they like a vine. They're like, it's hard to try to describe it, but they're like something that's hard to break because you've been working at it for so long, either to your for your goal or anything that you're trying to achieve. You have to do it doing the times where you don't want to do it. That's what consistency is. And the persistent is acknowledging that and going on to a more spiritual type way, because you are emboldened, you are influencing it with yourself of what you can bring forth. Number 5, consistency is where you strive for every moment, day, every year to deliver your message. So when I'm going to recap this particular podcast focusing on number 5, basically what I'm talking about is that consistency is where you strive. During the moments where you don't want to do it is when you need to do it. And that could be, like I said earlier, any type of objective or initiative you're wishing to achieve. When you don't want to do it, it's the prime time that you need to. When people or things happen that make you second guess is where you got to give it another try. Then sometimes things doesn't work out. Sometimes you're on the journey and you reach the end and it's just a dead, it's the end zone and you can't go no further. You don't really fret about that. You keep the stamina that you've been building, okay? Building that energy over time, and you decide that everything has its purpose, everything is meant to be, and you're not going to stop and not move forward in a way that it can benefit you on the long term. Good things comes to those that wait. The question is, will you be consistent in that to wait, and persistent to gear up the energy that is required from the spiritual level, because the spiritual level is deeper, because that's where things just happen and you don't even know how they happen, and it just come to you in all different avenues. It's because you've been planting those seeds when you was consistent to keep doing something that you might not see the fruits of the labor, but in time you will. All right, thank you so much for this episode, and I hope you have a good day. Thank you. Show Surviving Your Journey to Success, just to give you some information to not only stay in contact but with the other things that I offer. I provide career consultation, offering the first 30 minutes are free. Thereafter, there is a fee access afterwards per hour and can be discussed on a case-by-case basis depending on your need. So if it is an emergency and you need some consultation regarding your career or choices that you're about to make moving forward, in a sense, in your personal type objectives, then you can definitely contact me. The primary way to contact me is by email, which is info@nichelanderson.com. Now, I do have a toll-free number on my website. Now, that is actually only for webinars, when I'm doing like a free webinar and you're calling in. Once that number is through that medium, and it's only really for that, so it's not really connected to me directly. Now, I am working on that, but for right now it's not really, and when that changes, you would definitely get a notice of that to go forward. So just to recap, my primary way is info@nichelanderson.com. All right, so the other thing I want to share with you is that I also provide business courses and self-improvement courses. So that overall objective is to help you to create strategies that work for you, to get you motivated, to identify the ways to get your or keep your joy and your mental peace. So I do provide that on the basis of your objective to gain success, and as I like to say, sustain success. You can find information on my courses that I release on my official website, which is www.nichelanderson.com, and you can go there and you can look at the different courses that I am releasing that are available. These courses are self-paced. They will be identified if they're considered to be like live sessions on a regular basis, but for the most part they are self-paced. During that time, I do have live sessions that once you have signed up for the course, you will see that in the schedule of what days that I'm available live, that you can talk to me and we can go over the courses going forward, right, on those particular topics. So that information is basically on my website that you can go to, which is nichelanderson.com. Now, I want to do a special call out for listeners that I have seen in my stats that are following me, continue to follow me, which I am thankful for. Now, to get connected more, to stay connected, I'm asking you to consider to join my newsletter that I do send out. And to do that, you just have to submit, of course, your name and your email. I don't spam. You can always request to be taken off the list. I don't send thousands of emails because I don't like thousands of emails from a particular source. So I keep it in a way that's informative, of course, because obviously you like the content because you hear and you enjoy it and you're getting something from it, which pleases me. To expand that and to move forward and to get into other ways that I can expand what I'm trying to do is to form a newsletter, to get that set up in the sense that I'm communicating that I can send that out more quickly, actually, through a podcast or any type of thing or production that I'm doing, where a newsletter is more, in the sense, faster to get that contact and to send it out on blast, right? And more opportunity to send more content compared to like social media characters to be able to get that message out. So do consider that to join my newsletter by providing, and you can find that link at the end of each episode. I have that link to basically to sign up here for Nichel E-List Tips newsletter. And you could do that and you can see that and click, and it's a short form, online form. It is secured and you can complete that. All right, the other thing I want to talk about is basically to subscribe to this podcast. If you haven't, please go ahead. Of course, this is going through Podbeam. I have 2 podcasts. This one, of course, you're listening to is Surviving Your Journey to Success. And you can subscribe. Of course, you should see the subscribe button here at the bottom of this episode or at the top, whichever device that you're using. Now, I'm also available on iHeartRadio, on Spotify, on Google Play, on iTunes, and any other podcast directories for feed distribution. You can connect that way and subscribe, and if you like it, share it. Now, I am on social media, and so you do hear me a lot talk about Twitter. I'm mostly active on Twitter. I'm also active on Facebook. For the most part right now is Twitter, and I like the whole concept of keeping it short and sweet, but I'm connecting to people in different parts of the world. And then Facebook, I'm definitely on there as well, and you can connect me with that. So my Twitter handle is basically twitter.com/Nichel Anderson. My Facebook page, facebook.com/Nichel Anderson fan page. My official website, as I mentioned earlier, is nichelanderson.com. That is my official website. It's mainly focusing on self-improvement, motivation, life coaching, leadership courses, things that I really love to help people, what I have learned, and also to connect and to try to create the content in a way that you can feel comfortable about it, open up about the areas where you're struggling at. And it's usually pretty much our career and our personal life. So these self-paced courses give you the opportunity to really think things out, because you got to think about it. In this world, our mind has to be able to process so many things in so little time. And so you're here, you're there, you're everywhere, and you don't really get the opportunity to stop, to think, to react in a way that moves you forward, and to get things done, to get a blueprint. And that's basically the 2 courses that I recently released, and I will continue to evolve from that and add more courses, of course, or redo some of the courses that I have. And Blueprint for Success is a very good one in the sense of identifying that and moving to a point that you have a plan and that you can move forward, and that's the key. So at any rate, check that out on my official website, and definitely connect with that and share it with somebody else. Now, the other thing I would like to share with you is that, of course, I am an author, and so my very first book that I got published, that I was called to do, it was my purpose, and I see it now, and it's a part of my whole podcast show title. It's called Corporate America: Surviving Your Journey to Success. It is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. It's available in book form and ebook. Okay, so you can get it at any book retailer in the world that have access to the ISBN for each book. So you can get that and you can download it or you can purchase it or what have you. But go ahead and check out my book, and if you like it, share it, okay? And that was basically given to me to do, and immediately I felt that I could help college students. I recently got out of college and I was like, I can help students. I mean, I didn't know the politics of corporate America, and over time I even got better at understanding the dynamics and the politics of that. And it's very, very important. So if you do know someone that's in college, you got to get them this book, okay? If you're already in corporate America and you're out of college, you still need to get the book or recommend it to somebody. The book was a blessing because a few years later, after I was called to do it, and it was part of my whole purpose journey, a few years later I got contacted by Essence magazine, which people in the States definitely know that's a major magazine. And I used to love purchasing that magazine, and when I was in high school, and I just loved all the articles, and I never would have dreamed that one day, if I continue on the road and continue on the journey, that my name, something that I created, would be inside a magazine. Isn't that powerful? Where it was for me, and someone got a hold of it and make it so bad I had limited resources to promote it. But somebody was at the right spot, you hear me, at the right time. They had the connection, right? And I'm talking about where I lived. Wasn't a big, famous, big city with, so many powerful people. I wouldn't say not powerful people, but let's just say it was considered a halfway mid-range small town. Not a small town, but you know what I'm trying to say. And I had no idea that he could get to one person, and that person, and that person liked it. Led to Essence magazine, okay? Called me and said they loved it and they wanted to feature it and make it what they call the Corporate Climber Bible to succeed. Isn't that something? So that's why you have to identify your purpose, identify your reason, struggles, and move forward, and it will get you to your meant to be. It will get you to the blessings that will come to you if you stay on focus and stay on the journey and keep hope alive, because bigger things are yet to come. So in my closing, I want to say thank you again for joining me today. Here is my closing statement for you. Be you that strengthens and inspires your ability to be strong in your journey endeavor. It's a good thing towards your mental peace and joy, always to your success.